Welcome to Inside the Champion's Mind, a show dedicated to helping you overcome mediocrity in the pursuit of being world-class in life, love, and legacy. We're your hosts, Laurence
and Karen Tam.
And today we're getting closer and closer to
my favorite time of the year.
Your favorite time of the year. And I want to be very clear, it's her favorite time of the year. And for me, not so much. It is going to be Christmas time. We are heading into probably about less than 4 weeks by the time this episode launches. It's crazy that we only
this year
started.
It's going by fast.
Well, this is our 10th episode together. Happy 10 years. Happy 10th episode together.
Did I get a present?
Yes, it's coming. It's in the mail. And so it is Christmas coming up, and it's going to be obviously a very exciting time because Karen absolutely loves Christmas. Yes, she's one of those people who loves Christmas to death, and she starts really thinking about Christmas on December 26th of the year before. We have our tree up
We've got 2 trees this year.
We have 2 trees, not just one, 2 freaking trees.
And the kids want to start a forest. They want to get a 3rd one.
Yeah. If they're fake trees, I told them that they need to save the forest. And
the trees are up already.
The trees are up, and they're always up usually really early.
No, it's not that early. It's end of April, end of November. But I got them up about a week earlier this year, and that's because it's crazy busy.
Yeah, it is
insane. You kind of hit near this time of the year, and there's 10,000 things going. There's parties, there's class wind-ups, there's people you haven't heard of for a million years who are suddenly in town, and there's just not enough time in the day. So I saw it this coming weekend schedule. And there's no way we could have fit in trees as well. So I bumped it up a week. And what a shame. I've had to start a little bit earlier.
And well, the thing is really interesting about Christmas time is that around this time is 2 things are happening, right? No matter where you are in the world. Mm-hmm. It's not just Christmas. I mean, obviously there's people who, are celebrating Hanukkah and everything else, but then something happens. There's always something special happening around this time of year, obviously like the gathering of family. But there's which can cause a lot of stress for a lot of people.
Why are you looking at me?
No, I'm not looking at you. But it is a fact that for a lot of people,
holiday seasons,
especially around Christmas time, is very stressful.
Yeah.
But there's also the other side of things too, as well, from a entrepreneurial side or from the business perspective. Usually it's quite busy as well. So there's busyness of year ending, and then you also have this reflection of how did the year go? Oftentimes, sometimes it's went well. Sometimes for those people who didn't go well, then they start reflecting upon what a bad year they had, and so they have that stress on top of they're supposed to be celebrating, but at the same time they're feeling guilty and not doing as well as they thought, and then all of a sudden you also got to deal with all the stresses of what's happening next year, and you have this gap of pretty much shut down of 2 weeks. We shut down in
December and January,
and so there's all this stress that goes around a lot of people, and I think that could be a very debilitating thing. So we thought we'd talk about how to what are some of the strategies on dealing with stress with family, and also with business and life and everything else that happens a lot more around this time of year.
Well, you were saying something interesting to me the other week because my energy was really low, and I was just feeling a bit down, and I just said, I can't. The year is almost over, and I don't feel like I've accomplished anything. And I've noticed a couple of other people kind of feeling that way as well, because I think as the end of year comes, you start thinking, it's another year has gone by.
And you look another year younger for some reason. How is that possible?
You're going to get extra presents this year for that one. But I think it can feel that way, that a year's gone by, you feel like time is slipping through your hands, and that you haven't done anything. You're not any further forward, and you can feel that way.
Oftentimes,
and you were saying to me, instead of thinking, I haven't done anything, think about all the things you have managed to do. And the more I started thinking about it, I was like, well, there has been a lot of big milestones. Christian started school, and we've done this, and we've done that. And the more I started to think about it, I thought, no, actually, we have done quite a bit. And it's who you're comparing yourself to as well. Because if you're just thinking, all these entrepreneurs are out in the world, taking over the world, and I'm just a stay-at-home mom.
Not just. A very important
But
job.
You can feel that way. I'm just a stay-at-home mom who's made 2 batches of Play-Doh today. How have I contributed to this world of ours? But it is important to look at all the tiny little things that you've done and to realize how much you actually probably have done. It's a lot more than what we think, but just in that instant of thinking back, it can feel like nothing has happened.
Well, I was just in Perth for 2 days with my clients, and one of the things I wanted to do was to kind of help them, process the end of the year and also prepare them for next year. And one of the things that came up, an exercise I got them to do was, it's what we call the win exercise in a way.
The win exercise.
Yeah, the win exercise. Like it's a reflection of where they're actually at. And oftentimes, and one of the key insights, like for a lot of them, and this is for a lot of people, especially, not just entrepreneurs, I think people in general, is that we focus so much of the future of what's actually happening to like what's has to happen. Like you think like, okay, I got to be here for this Christmas party. I got to do this, and these parents are coming, or this is what we got to do. And you're so forward focused that, and you're just sort of thinking like, I am so stressed because of the future, but you've forgotten the past. I'm not suggesting like, and this is interesting, right? Because I'm a future focused person, but the past, I don't dwell on the past. But what I do is you need to spend that time, even if it's just a short 5-minute period of time, to reflect on where you come from, so that you get perspective of the future. Because oftentimes you're so future focused, you've forgotten about what actually happened in the past to get you to where you are. Yeah. And so what we do is when we share our wins, or we look back at our wins, is, what were the things that actually happened this year alone, or even in your life. I got them to think about their life, like one significant thing, and what did you learn from it? Because you start to realize that you are who you are today, right? While you're listening to this podcast today, because of the decisions that you made, the hardship that you might have gone through, or the wins that you've had. All those things have happened, and you are who you are today because of those things. And that, just having that reflection, it puts everything back into perspective. And all of a sudden, like the world stress that's in front of you usually settles. It doesn't disappear. It just settles a little bit, and you're in a much better space, knowing that it took time to kind of get here.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with all of that.
And well, let's look back. I mean, it's been a big year for, and I think so. What I'm asking most people to do to help you with your stress is to actually look back in your past, look back this year, and say, what are some of the things? What were some of your wins that you actually had this year, and look back upon it. Just reflect for 5-10 minutes and write them down. What I do at the end on New Year's Eve, this is one of the rituals that I've done. Always.
I think this must be while I'm sleeping, because
you're out of bed.
No, I can't make it to midnight anymore, Laurence.
Yeah.
Getting old.
Getting old. One of the things I try to make it to midnight, and but one of the things I always do is a ritual that I've had done for a very, very long time, is to reflect upon the year. And I take out a journal, and I actually just write out the journal. And because I've been traveling a lot this year, one of the things I kind of look back upon is actually month by month. So it was like I look back in like January, and you start to write down like all these places I've actually been to, because travel is a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Like, and I think for us too, as a family, we get to travel and see a lot of different things. It's an important thing for us, and we look back and go, oh man, like, if you forget that you
wouldn't think you would, but
we were in Canada and the United States. We were in Whistler skiing, with the kids.
Yeah, I've already forgotten.
Kids skied for the first time, and saw snow for the first time in Canada. And those are the things we forget. And when you start to look back, I'm like, oh my God, you look through your old pictures. And I think having that time to reflect, though, it's really, I don't know, it fills your soul.
Well, I think it grounds you, doesn't it? Especially if you're feeling overwhelmed and stressed, and it just reminds you of all the good.
Yes.
The good that you've had in the year as
exactly,
well.
Because I actually saw this video today. They're talking about how it's so important to go into nature. And one of the things is that you're living in today's world with everything going on with technology, you're sort of bombarded, and it actually taps into part of the brain that that sort of causes you more stress. But when you go to nature, and I know
this is why I'm laughing. I'm just thinking of twigs in my hair and ants crawling.
No, but nature, it doesn't mean you're sleeping in nature, but I mean, just for us, like even you get a lot of energy, like especially when we went down to Margaret River, when we were down south.
At a winery.
At a winery. But even just driving or walking through the bush, like walking through the bush in the trees.
Trees
like,
for me.
There's energy there. And that because there's something about it. I don't know what it is. I can't even explain it, but there's something about that energy in that space to just stop. The world kind of is peaceful at that time. Remember we did that walk even just 2 weeks ago with the kids. Yeah. Along Nearbean Lakes there, and it's just peaceful. And you look at the woods, you just feel like you hear the birds chirping, you hear the insects, and something scurrying, and running in the bush. It's just there's a grounding. You don't hear a car, you don't hear anything else, and it's just like there's something magical about it.
But I think it brings it back to being still, doesn't it? Yes. Because we're just so busy, like what's next, what's happening, and when you're away from all those distractions, You're just really focusing on the present
Well,
and allowing you that downtime.
And it allows that silence, that
Yes.
space allows you to thoughts to actually come through.
So we might need to plan some of this into our day if we start getting stressed over Christmas, Laurence.
What's that? Plan.
Yeah, like if I know I'm going to be stressed, maybe I have like a code word for you, and then that means I need to go for a walk by some trees right now.
Yeah, you need to wear that crown, right?
To do it, because I'm thinking about. I know you're going to the entrepreneurial, but I'm thinking about stress with families.
Yeah, I think stress with
coming in.
families.
And
is
I'm
huge
scared
thing.
of this episode because I have to be careful what I say because I don't want to offend anybody, and I tend to say everything that comes into my mind, and then afterwards go, "Oh crap! I forgot people listen to this." So I'm going to be very good and try not to. And I'm cognizant that holidays can be very stressful with family. And let's face it, it's, you're having people, if it's at your house, you have people coming into your home that aren't normally at your house. And it's a lot of stress cooking and preparing food for different people. There's those expectations of wanting to make your family happy or your children happy or getting them that gift. Mm-hmm. There's just, the financial stress, living up to this perfect day that's portrayed in movies. And it's a lot on top of people trying to get presents and doing millions of things and parties. So one of the things that works for me is, we talked about my superpower being organization, is I think the more you can organize and get out the way, and that sounds horrible, getting it out the way, but the more you can clear off your plate before Christmas Day comes, then you're better able to relax and to enjoy the day itself and take some of that stress off.
Yeah. Well, it's expectation. The word here was the expectation of having it to be perfect and the way you want it. For me,
Yes.
that's easy. I just let go of all expectations of Christmas and don't care as much. And
I know,
that's one strategy.
You're
That's
cool
one
as
strategy.
a cucumber, yes.
That's one strategy, but it doesn't work for everybody.
So what do you do if you have family members that might be,
everybody
they're
goes through
going to
that.
push your buttons?
I think everybody goes
This is
through that,
going
right?
to,
There's
yeah.
always going to be, we know of many different people that listen to this podcast who have a family coming over, into their household, and it could be very stressful. And yeah, we're talking about you. And so one of the things that happens when that occurs is usually because you are living up to an expectations of how you present yourself or how you are perceived in a way.
Yeah.
And oftentimes we get attached to that expectation. It's like everything's got to be, quote unquote, perfect. And by doing so, and I think that's actually works in our detriment, because then we're doing Christmas for them
Yes.
and not for us.
And I think you're already, because you know them, you already know, they're going to say this, and then I'm going to say that to
Yeah.
them, and then this is going to happen. And so your
You
mind...
get lost up in the story
Well,
that
before-
may or may not even happened.
Before they're even there, you're stressed because you've played out every possible scenario, and you're already at such an agitated state that by the time they do come, you can be sure something's going to happen because it's your tolerance level is just not even there.
I think when it comes down to the Christmas, I believe that if someone's coming to your house,
Yes.
is that you're very big, and I really highly respect this, and I actually I honor this a lot, and I'm glad you actually brought that into my life, is actually having rituals. Mm-hmm. Right? The ritual of Christmas. Christmas is a really big thing for Karen. It wasn't so much a big thing for us and my family as I grew up. So, that's why I'm kind of whatever. I'm not being a Scrooge about it. It's just it was never a big thing for me. Yeah. However, I know it's so important to you. So the rituals of, for example, we have the Christmas Eve dinner. It's very important. And that only kind of came into play. It used to be on Christmas Day. It only came into play because of your father when he was in the hospital, being a quadriplegic. We had to, we wanted to be with him on Christmas Day.
Yes.
And he couldn't be with us during Christmas dinner, per se.
Yeah.
So we had to bring dinner to him. So we had to, we created Christmas Eve. So now we've carved out. Christmas Eve is the tam day.
That's how we dealt with that stress.
Yeah.
Being flexible to, why do you have to do it the way everybody's done it in the past?
Yes. We changed it up.
We
I don't have to be on that day.
No, we
changed
changed it. It just lifted that weight off because it was like, how are we going to do this?
Yeah. And so, by the way,
changed it.
if you're a first-time listener to Inside Champions Mind, if you don't know the story, you go back to, I think, episode 102 or 103 or something. That was tell you Karen's father's story. But I think that you created rituals, so which means that that's our thing.
Yeah.
And on Christmas Day, instead of having to eat breakfast for us is that we just allow the kids to, so we don't have the stress. It actually took the stress having on Christmas Eve away from you, because now you don't have the stress of kids waking up wanting to be, open up their presents, playing with their toys, and then you're like, okay, kids, got to pack up, we got to get ready for Christmas.
Yeah, people are coming. Look nice. Don't play with your toys.
And that's very stressful we've had that for a couple of years. It was very, very stressful. So we removed that by moving it on the day before. Yes. So then Christmas Day just becomes all about the kids, right?
Pajama party with toys.
Exactly. The kids literally love staying in the pajamas, and they don't want to change. And they have a ritual. Yeah. So what I'm saying is that having certain rituals based on your values, on what your family wants, right? And if someone's going to come into our life, kind of come into our house, I kept on telling you, it's that really, it doesn't matter what they think. Like, it doesn't matter how they feel. This is my opinion anyways. Yeah. I don't care. It doesn't really, obviously we take something into consideration, but at the end of the day, they're going to fall into your traditions, right? If it's important to you, they're coming to your house, they're as guests, they're going to fall into your traditions, and really, you got to do what's right for you and your families and your values at the same time.
But you want to make people feel welcome and make people feel happy. And it's hard. I'm not saying you don't, but it's hard when you just know there's these certain people that will be coming. So I've got some tips.
Okay, go for it. Obviously, you're leading up to it.
I am leading up to this. Number 1, don't sit across from that person at the table.
Okay.
Put them somewhere else on the table.
Is that why I'm sitting down?
No, I'm not saying to you. That's why you're outside. No, that invite people who may like to come to your party that are going to liven it up and be little buffers, that it's not going to just turn into a family tension thing. That's another idea I have. Pray to yourself. Forgive us our Christmases as we forgive all Christmases done to us. That could work. Now, this is one I might try this year that I've kind of done in the past, and I didn't really realize it. And it's kind of like the Irish exit.
The Irish exit.
Christmas-fied. So you get to your tolerance level. You have a look that you give your partner that means, if I don't leave right now, my head's going to explode. You say, oh, is that my phone? Oh, I just have to make a quick phone call. I'll be right back. Then ladies or men, go to your safe spot. Find a safe spot in the house. Have your exit plan. Go to your safe spot and just lock yourself in there for 10 minutes. Like for me, that would be lying on my bed with home TV shows on, air conditioning blowing in my face, maybe a box of chocolates. Do that for 10 minutes. De-stress, debrief. Let your husband, let your partner deal with the chaos that's upstairs.
That's assuming that it's the
then
wife
come back
here.
Upstairs again. Well, if it's a husband, I don't know. Go to your shed, build some wooden stuff.
So just saying, if you don't see me on Christmas Day, then I'm walking the dog.
It's like pulling the ripcord on a parachute. Like, I'm gone. See ya. You'll get a text message from me during dinner. I'm at the beach. Yeah. Well, see you tomorrow.
Well, just also remember, like, maybe think of the topics of conversation avoid those conversations or topics of conversation that you know.
So no politics.
Well, whatever it is, whatever it is for your family, certain
conversations
that's going to cause to stir some
emotions about it. Do you know what I do is I try to do every Christmas. I try to make some fun activities so that every year there's something fun to look forward to. And so if you've probably all seen this, but if you haven't, I don't know where you've been. Pie face. Now this is a fun game for the family where I can't even do this. There you go. You put
the mic's here though. So
you put whipped cream on a hand, and the person puts their face through, and then it might smash them in the face. This is a lot of fun. One, it's fun if you have people that are stressing you out. Make sure they're in the face the majority of the time. There's nothing funner than seeing whipped cream smash them in the face. But also too, it livens things up a little bit. It creates a little bit of humor, and I think if you can create moments to put humor into the day so that you're changing your focus if you're stressed, and the people around you are all having a good time as well, it kind of deflates that situation that's happening. Another games, we like to do quite a few games actually. Like we get special Christmas crackers. Like last year we had musical instruments, and we all had to be, I think Christian was a conductor, and we all had to play our instruments to songs. We've done Guess Who, where we've all had to wear the people on our heads during dinner. Mm-hmm. So there's lots of activities and fun things that you can do to take that stress. You're looking stressed right now.
I'm looking stressed right now, actually. Yeah.
You are. Okay. What did you want to say about it?
No, I was just thinking that games are a really great idea because it creates a tension, releases the tension around that. But I think it's most of our stresses that actually occurs in any type of scenario, especially families, is usually because of the amount of pressure that you place upon yourself. The pressure that you place on yourself, the expectations that you have. I think that's really important to kind of really focus in on, because at the end of the day,
slow down. You're going a bit 2 times speed here.
No, because it's at the end of the thank you. Because the end of the day is that if you have a certain type of expectation, you're trying to match up to that expectation. And when you're trying to match up that expectation, oftentimes that you actually become more stressed that you didn't match it, and then you're worried about why you didn't match it or how you're going to match it, and that you get into this loop in this story, and you forget to actually
just have fun.
Do the thing exactly.
Just have fun.
Focus on the moment of what Christmas is about.
Yes.
Is actually on the enjoyment of the kids and yourself, and also the celebration of family and gathering. And so when you actually pause, like that's what I meant by the pause, is that when you actually pause and actually look and reflect, oftentimes now what you do is then you actually appreciate for the good things, not all the bad things that you did or didn't do or should do. You actually focus on the whole sole purpose of actually what this family gathering was about. You don't get lost in all the other things. And if you just sit back and just enjoy the thing that you created, if you're really into Christmas, is to look back at it, you can actually see the magic in it. And remember when we got married, I can't even remember who gave us this advice. It might have been someone from family, but they gave us this advice that weddings can be very stressful in a way, because you have this planned execution of how the entire day is going to go.
You spend a very long time planning for one day.
Yeah, for one day. I think ours, we had a year and a half, right? And so one of the things they recommended for us to do was to step aside, like certain moments of the day, like just make sure you spend just me and you, step back and just observe and take a mental snapshot of what was happening, and that all of these people are gathered here because of us. Mm-hmm. And just that moment and just appreciation, the gratitude of that moment, all of a sudden just takes the pressure off. And now, like, it's all that time, all that energy, all that effort was worth it.
Yeah.
And that small little thing, that small little moment changes. And I think you can apply this on the Christmas aspect, or just any holiday season.
Because the day will go by so quickly. Because the lead up to it is, as you said, it's like just like a wedding. There's so much planning, so much to do, and to actually, when you get to that day, to take that time out to just stop and to be present and to look. I think it would make it more enjoyable.
And also the kids, like
if you have children, or
if your children, like just be stop worrying about like what they want and trying to get that toy. Like I see so many parents like always focusing on that toy that they want.
Yeah.
I know you spend the time to actually want to get the toy that they they deserve, but at the end of the day, like they're going to be happy, right?
It's the time spent with you as well, having the time just to sit together. Like I think the favorite thing for our children, like of course they love all the toys.
Yes.
But what they really like is that tradition of all of us being in the same room. You're not rushing off to work. I'm not rushing anywhere. They're not going to school. We're just spending time together.
Yeah.
And they love getting out the board games and funny board games, mystery board games. They just love doing that because we're connecting. Mm. And that connection means so much to them.
Yeah. And choosing the right toys, that sometimes you can allowing them to open it and then just allowing them to play with it. So if that's a board game we got them or something, and then we actually play as a family, for an hour or so, and then they go out and build a Lego or whatever it is. It just gives them that support time, and it just allows us to kind of sit back and relax. And that's why I love actually having Christmas dinner on Christmas Eve and not on Christmas Day, because there's no pressure on Christmas Day.
Oh, so do I. I get to enjoy watching the kids enjoy Christmas. Otherwise, I'd be like doing the turkey and running around. I'd miss all those little magical moments. I just want to sit in my pajamas and enjoy it with them and snuggle with them and do those things.
So going back to the early advice about pausing and taking time for yourself, this is a perfect time to actually reflect. This is the perfect time to reflect on your year. Don't judge the year. That's the problem. It's that, I talked about the entrepreneurs or business owners or everything else. You're judging the year. And when you judge the year, whether it was good or bad, you're labeling it. I think it's just that, you can't change it. Like judging it bad, you can't change the fact. What you can do is you kind of go look at the year, reflect upon it, and going, what did I learn? So the win thing was not just about like what are my successes, but what did I learn? So I never see it, I try not to call it as a win-loss thing. It's more of a win-lesson thing. So like, what did I win? How did I win? And how can I improve on that? But also, what did I learn? What were some of the lessons that I learned in the quote unquote losses that I actually gone through? Because a loss is only a loss when you don't actually learn a lesson from it. So the lesson is, what did you learn from it, and what that lesson is, how did you learn what would that do to help you improve next year, or how would that make you better as a person or in your business or anything else that will make your next year, better? Because let's face it, next year in 2017, you're going to feel exactly the same way as you're feeling right now.
It's going to be January. You'll be like, I've got a full year. I don't want to screw it up. I've got to...
Yeah, and then November, December, you'll be like, oh my God, where did this year go by? And then 2018, it's like, oh, where did this year go by? 2020 is going to be exactly the same thing. You're always going to feel this pressure. And to be honest with you, I don't know about you, but you notice that the years are actually getting faster. So which means that it's actually going to move faster because technology and everything else and what we're exposed to, you're going to feel like you're actually going to be more stressed moving forward. So this is the time to actually pull back a little bit and actually have that self-reflection and gain control of your the mental talk that you actually have in your head, because that's what's going to change the context of stress within your body and how you deal with it.
Well, I think it was interesting when you were saying to learn from the lessons, because we've mentioned that before, is that things that we deem negative in our life, see if you can see what the positive to that was, how that has either made you a stronger person, a better parent, a better co-worker. Because it's very easy to feel a victim or just feel like that was the worst terrible thing that happened to me. But I think if you can reflect, as you said, there was usually some growth that you got out of that has made you so much stronger and better able, equipped to either help yourself or to help others, and have that opportunity to try to look and see, how did it make you a better person? And that's hard, especially if it's some really dark and deep stuff that's happened to you, to find a silver lining to it. And I'm not saying always, you have to be an optimist. There's no pessimism to it. But to everything that's happened, there is something in it that has made you a better person for it.
Well, the one of the challenges that any of us actually has is that we have a realization that a lot of the things that the obstacles and the challenges that we go through are continually the same challenges.
What do you mean?
Which means that it's oftentimes we kind of keep up coming up the same obstacles, so coming up the same challenges that we're dealing with on a regular basis. And each year, this is the thing that always comes up. If I have this say a fear of speaking in front of a public, every time I get offered, I decline it because there's always that fear, and always comes up. And until you actually really overcome that fear is hard, right? But that fear, what I'm saying is that the fears that we all deal with, or each individual, like they're all different, obviously. Yeah. But that fear always typically is the same fear that you've had probably 5 years ago.
It's because you haven't dealt with it, and until you deal with it, then it's not an issue for you anymore.
Well, I think it's okay to realize that your body, the universe is always going to challenge you. In that sense, to help you improve. And just because you dealt with it once doesn't mean that you're not going to give you a bigger challenge for you to overcome in the same context. And so I think sometimes is moving forward in the new year is to kind of go, here's the lessons I've learned, is how do I make myself a little bit uncomfortable next year? I think that's an important thing. I know that's look, your face is already...
To make you uncomfortable. Well, I can make you uncomfortable right now, sir.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
You've fallen into the trap, Laurence.
And I just have to
and you just said to me I couldn't mess up your hair, because for those who can't see, we now have our reindeer antlers on that I bought the kids that I wanted to.
Yep. See, I have to embrace. I have to embrace.
You just said do something that makes you uncomfortable,
this is
Laurence.
Uncomfortable
so you played into my hand. Well played, sir.
So that's what I mean. It's being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
I love it. I think we're wrapping up. We're almost half an hour now, aren't we?
Yeah. So I hope you got a lot. I know that each and every single one, you will have different challenges around this holiday season or the upcoming holiday season. And all I suggest is, you can either choose to make it stressful, or you can choose to make it as exciting and grateful as you possibly can.
I feel like your options were very zen-like and very smart, and I feel like my options were really silly. But there's got to be humor in life. So pick and choose which ones you want to
Yeah,
use.
I mean, reach out if you need to find out what is the best advice, and tell us maybe what do you think the best advice is going to be for you, and maybe share. I'd love for you to share your best tricks or advice to how to
Dealing
deal
with stresses during the holiday season.
That's going to be very helpful for all of our listeners and also people.
Exit strategies, whatever you have.
Yeah, so go to facebook.com/Inside the Champion's Mind. Love for you to like us there and comment. And tell us your favorite advice, how you deal with the Christmas stress. This has been also on the broadcasting, obviously on the Wellness Couch, and subscribe to us on iTunes. And make sure you give us a rating to help spread the message of the Inside Champion's Mind to how to become a champion on a daily basis. This is Inside the Champion's Mind, a podcast and a show dedicated to helping you overcome mediocrity in the pursuit of being world-class in life, love, and legacy. I'm Laurence Tam.
And I'm Karen.
See you on the next episode.